Can you feel it in the air? That cool breeze. It's that time. It's time for big boy, real football in Tennessee. House of Orange Live. Thanks for tuning in with us tonight. Got a full house tonight. Got two living legends in here. Got the man who snuck into Neyland Stadium 5 times, Kerry Williams, in the house. We got the man showing off his guns on camera tonight, Backwoods, Tennessee, in the house. So what's going on, fellas?
Nothing much. Another day.
Nothing much. Man of many words tonight. So
Yep.
what's going on, Backwoods?
Not a lot, man. I'll tell you, it was nice to kind of wake up this morning, and I'm not sure about where y'all live, but up here in Cookeville, Tennessee, it was kind of around 55 whenever I walked out of the house this morning. Feel that nice breeze in the air as I was walking to class, and it just feels like football time right now.
Man, I was out just a few minutes ago up here in Asheville. It was good breeze blowing. It's cool. Sleeves needed tonight. I got a couple pumpkins and a mum on the porch now. I'm feeling it now. So we're ready to rock and roll. So it's that time, guys. We had Syracuse get the blood boiling a little bit for that. Last week, I mean, you went, didn't you, Kerry?
To the ETSU game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, what was the atmosphere like last week?
It was kind of what you would expect for ETSU. It was nothing crazy. A lot of open seats, which was expected because it rained like the entire day up until kickoff. So I understand why some people didn't necessarily go. I don't think you should. Like, I think if you have a ticket, you show up no matter what. But I understand why some people didn't show up. But, I mean, it was still a really good crowd. They stayed longer than I anticipated them to. But, of course, after halftime, it was like half empty. So they literally – I moved like right before halftime to go down to the student section. And the amount of people that were just walking outside the stadium was ridiculous. And I looked whenever, like, it was like the first quarter, and I sit at the very top, so I could see out back. And there was, like, nobody. It was like a dead zone. There wasn't a single soul outside. And then at the end of the second quarter, there's blocks of hundreds of thousands of people leaving the stadium. So I thought it was pretty funny.
Oh, wow. I was curious. You mentioned weather. What are we looking like for this weekend? I'm thinking it's supposed to be nice, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be like 85. It's what it was this past Saturday when I looked. I haven't looked since.
Okay. My phone's saying 82, which you never know with this app. But it's man, that should be some good football weather. Shouldn't be too humid, I wouldn't think. 82, 85 degrees, whatever.
I got 82.
And I'm glad it's a 3:30 game. I'm glad it's not 7:30. All right, I think that's a good time. I mean, that's everybody's got let's face it, let's be honest about it. Everybody's got plenty of time to get lit. Everybody's got plenty of time to drink, and they'll be about right. You shouldn't have the stumbling drunks coming in too much at that point at 3:30. So they should be just right and just rowdy enough for that one. But before we get into Georgia talk, let's get into ETSU. All right, I'll flip to Kerry first, then you, Backwoods. Overall impressions, or can we even take much out of it this week? You were there in person. What did you see versus what we might have seen on the TV? What stood out to you in person from that perspective?
I mean, I would say the offense really stood out. I kind of expected there to be something truly to happen on defense or the special teams, score a touchdown there, but every touchdown was scored via the offense. And I understand that 2 or 3 of those were set up by really good punt returns, but it was just the offense. I mean, they moved the ball methodically. ETSU never had a chance of stopping them. I felt like we threw the ball a lot more than I probably anticipated going into the game, just considering the weather and the fact that we can just run the ball on anybody and they don't really have a chance, especially not ETSU. And ETSU, they did do a good job of stopping Murray State on the run the week prior, but of course Murray State and Tennessee aren't comparable. But overall, I mean, I just thought the offense looked really well. I thought it looked smooth. It kind of struggled, I felt like, a little bit when Merck came into the game. He had that one horrific throw that should have been intercepted.
That should have been a pick six.
Yeah, the ETSU defender dropped it. That one was I was in the student section at that point. I didn't understand who he was throwing that to, where he was throwing that to, or what was the thought process there. And there wasn't – I thought Merck did a great job whenever he got in as well. So then a lot of the young guys, they played really well, like Dwayne Morris, Darius Jackson, Travis Smith Jr., those guys. It's good to see those guys on offense. I was not a fan of the defense allowing 2 touchdowns. I'd been fine with 1 after the Joey fumble or whoever fumbled that ball. I was okay.
As a bad snap. I mean, it was
the other touchdown. I wasn't too happy about that. But overall, I mean, nothing really to truly complain about. We scored 72, and it was all via the offense and Max Gilbert's leg and then Josh Tuberville's leg. So pretty good day.
Yeah, Backwoods, what'd you think? What was your impressions of Saturday?
Yeah, not sure how much you can look into it because, obviously it is ETSU, but I think that's what you want to see before a game like Georgia. I think Aguilar continues to look really comfortable in this offense. It seems like the tempo comes pretty easy to him. Throws for almost 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, and I believe, I don't know how much people like to play into the Pro Football Focus numbers, but he graded out at like a 94.6, I believe, which is the highest rating a Tennessee quarterback has gotten in the Heupel era. So, just good to see him comfortable making throws. I know a lot of times the guys are running pretty wide open in these past couple of games, but he's still making the throws. So he still has to put it on the receiver. I think the running backs look great. I think the running backs look awesome against ETSU. I think Star Thomas might turn out to be one of our biggest pickups in the portal this offseason. I mean, he looks incredible. And I'm with Kerry there. I don't really know how to feel about the defense, to be honest with you. I know that little drive right before halftime, or maybe it was right after halftime, they just marched right down the field. I know maybe we have a few of our, bench guys in there, but, Heupel, as we're coming off the field, he just says, we got to be better than that. So I look for maybe the defense to get better as the year goes on, but just I'm not really sure how that's going to go with Georgia coming to town next week. I don't know if maybe it's a thing where they don't want to show a whole lot. Maybe they'll, Tim Banks will dial up some exotic blitz packages, something like that next weekend. Hard to say. But as far as, the game against ETSU, I think it's, at least the offense is going to be competent this year. I had my doubts going into the season. Just didn't know how it was going to look. I've been pleasantly surprised with how the offenses look. So, I've got more optimism than I thought I would have going into Georgia week.
Yeah, for sure on that. I'm thinking on the score. It's either one. So you had Pendleton. It was a bad snap. If Aguilar falls on that, then they're able to punt that ball or even get another chance at it. I don't know if he was trying to pick it up and throw it quick or what, but that was I think that was a 2-player mistake on that one, Pendleton and Aguilar. I'm looking at the box score now as who's in. I mean, it was at least part walk-ons that was in when ETSU scored. So, that doesn't concern me as much, to be honest with you. The guys I needed to see do their thing did their thing with it. These dudes that gave up the score, they're not going to be in the game this weekend unless it's just a massive blowout or something like that, which, I definitely don't see Tennessee blowing Georgia out like that. Unfortunately, I've seen it the other way around. I feel like a lot more than I needed to recently. But, both sides. Aguilar's looked in control. What more could you ask for from him? If anything, we've got to clean some drops up. We've got to clean those drops up. There were still some this past week that we've got to clean up. The running backs, like you said, Star Thomas, man, he's looking – I think when I ranked the transfer pickups, I ranked him 7th out of 7, not because he wasn't good, but just I didn't think he would play that big of a role. I thought he would be kind of that third down, maybe spell Peyton Lewis and Deshaun Bishop, but he may be the best of the 3. And I don't say that lightly because those are 3 really good running backs that we got. And DeJuan Morris, too. He looks pretty good also. Wide receivers are making plays. And Brazel had a good game. Matthews made plays. Staley's making plays. The tight ends, man, we heard all the talk about the tight ends. And, they've done good. They've done good, I would say, but they've not blown me away. Yeah, they're doing what they need to do. Van Dorselaer, when he caught his pass, scored, looked pretty good on it. Bream got in. He had a drop, but he did have, one reception? If I'm not mistaken, I have it pulled up here. He had two. He had two on it. Just looking down the line, too. Rodarius Jackson looked good, like a guy who can come in and make plays. To me, with the running backs, though, Star Thomas, Bishop, Lewis, I think Star Thomas and Bishop are seeing things better than Lewis right now. Lewis is hard to get down, but he's not getting the big runs that the other two are. And we'll see how they go this weekend. I'll be curious because you got to think they'll see all three guys, but how quickly will they go with the hot hand on that as well? And I said this last week too. You've got to, if you're going to play the guy, let him play. And they let Boo Carter play this past week. We saw why he needs to be on the punt return. Some of you are bringing Boo up on offense. Do y'all see him playing offense at this point?
No.
I don't.
I think he blew that opportunity.
Yeah, I do too. I don't think at this point you will. If you see him come in, you're going to know what's coming. It'll be like the old Eric Berry package or something where Eric Berry was getting the ball when he come in on it. That's been a minute, but still, yeah. I think we got players. I don't think we need Boo on offense, to be honest. I don't – do you guys feel like we've even seen a big part of the playbook yet?
No.
You think they still got some stuff up their sleeve?
Absolutely.
I think there's some wrinkles in there probably that we'll see maybe Saturday that we've not seen yet.
Now, I'm trying to think, was there as much movement last week as there was to begin against Syracuse?
No, probably not.
When they come out against Syracuse, there was a lot of pre-snap moving around.
Yeah. I don't think they did that as much against ETSU.
Yeah, because I didn't get to watch the first quarter. I was listening to it, but I was traveling back, and so I was curious if they had that or not had as much. I gotta think they're pulling that out against Georgia some because that was very effective. It worked good against ETSU that week, but I don't really think there's a whole lot more to talk about on ETSU. They beat the piss out of them, 72-17, school record for points scored. What was it? Total yards was just insane as well. 734, 458 passing, 276 rushing. We're probably lucky it wasn't 72-24 because I don't know still how Merklinger got away with the pick six. It kind of furthers my thinking, even though it's one throw. But when I see the quarterbacks knowing Aguilar's gone next year, the third guy who played on Saturday is still kind of my guess to take over for Aguilar next year. But we'll see a long time until then. Let me hit some comments here, and then we'll get into it. So, Kerry Williams, long-lost Kerry brother, says, go Big Orange. Kyle Beach says, let's whoop some Bulldog butt. Anderson Hutzel, what's going on, man? Dr. Rock. No doctor here, buddy. I don't think we would want that. But let's see. Rain or shine. I don't think there's any rain in the forecast this week. It looks like a nice week up here. The General says, I've been getting 2022 Alabama vibes. We're going to talk more about that. We're going to see if anybody else has got those vibes as well. Get on down the line. Let's see where we're at. Let me get caught up here. MVP's the offensive line. What's your guys' opinion of the offensive line been so far, Backwoods? I'll start with you on that, and I'll flip to you, Kerry. What have you thought about the offensive line so far?
Yeah, I thought the offensive line has been really impressive so far this year. On some of those runs that the running backs have been breaking off, there's highways to run through. They're just moving guys. And I think it's a interesting combination on the offensive line so far. Probably not what we were expecting. We know with David Sanders, still yet to make his first career start. So I think all in all, the offensive line's been, a really, pleasant surprise to see. And I think it's a plus because, I think we expected to have a really dominant defensive line, but it looks like offensive line, it's a little bit early to say this, but maybe, a bigger strength in the defensive line. It still remains to be seen, though.
You brought up a point that I'm going to come back to on David Sanders Jr. here in just a few minutes. I was writing down some stuff here so I don't forget it, but that's definitely a point I want to make it, or a question I want to bring up in regard to this week when we get to it. Kerry, your overall thoughts on the offensive line so far?
I mean, I thought it's been really good. I mean, you've seen a few different combinations, but I mean, even without David Sanders, I think you've been just as good as you can ask for. I feel like Jesse Perry's done a great job in that right tackle spot. I understand that nobody in the offensive line has really faced like fierce competition at this point. I mean, they will definitely face fierce competition this week. I just feel like they've held up really good. Personally, I mean, I'm not worried from like center with Pendleton over to left tackle at hurt. Like, I'm not worried about the left side. Right side's a little bit iffy, just mainly because like you have Sham there. I love Sham. I think he's really good, but there was reasons, of course, why he wasn't necessarily predicted to be a starter and just kind of a backup guy. And he's been thrusted into the starting position, and I'm sure he'll do a great job with it. And I do like Jesse Perry at the right tackle spot. It would be really nice to have seen David Sanders play the past 2 weeks. Of course, probably ain't going to play this week. I'm pretty sure I saw that he's not going to play this week. I don't really want to play him in general like this week. Anyway, I don't want his first experience to be against Georgia because heaven forbid he gets ran over one play and then Joey's not even paying attention and gets rocked, and we have another Brian Maurer play from 2017. And then I'm sitting there in the stands and I'm bawling my eyes out. So let's hopefully not have that happen again.
Yeah, I think you was reading my mind on my question I had, which I'm still going to come back to that one here in just a few minutes. You definitely read my mind on where you went with it. But, yeah, I mean, I think in general, I mean, you're not really hearing much. It's you're either hearing a lineman's name for two reasons, it seems like. They're either putting somebody on their ass or they're getting beat. One of the two. They're not getting beat. So really the only way we've heard them is putting somebody on their ass. And we've seen that a few times as well. I was kind of curious to see what would happen when Perry moved out to right tackle. I mean, he graded out, Landon Backwoods mentioned Pro Football Focus a little bit ago. Perry graded out, 91.6 or something on that. He was the highest one. Sham graded out at 80 something. I want to find those grades here while I'm talking on it. But, it's other than the snaps, I don't have much protection. I mean, Aguilar's not been sacked. He was close. He was close to being sacked, and he got the ball off just before the knees hit the ground. But, Aguilar 94.2. Perry was 91. I mean, Max Anderson 82.1. Of course, that was in mop-up duty. Sham was 81.5. Pendleton 74.3. Moy Jr. 74. Hurd 73.1. All those are pretty solid. And again, take Pro Football Focus how you will, but it still tells you a lot on the performances. Where in turn, if I found one thing that concerned me based on the grades, it was the star position. All the stars did not grade out well last week, and that's going to be a vital position, especially this week. But the one thing too I've heard him talk about is Stockton does not use the middle of the field. If he doesn't, that plays into Tennessee's hands, which we'll talk about more after a while. But that star position is going to be big, and looking at what's the depth this week as well. But I think this is pretty. Keg 2071, what's up, man? Says, feel like this is the most talent we've had against Georgia in the last decade. The gap's closing, 12 personnel. Let's let out tight ends eat. Domhnall Booth's probably the last time we were even competitive talent-wise with them. I mean, last year we were closer. I mean, this year before the season, it come out that Tennessee now grades out from what is it, a blue chip scenario that they have national championship talent, have enough on it. So, we're going to talk more about that. I'm trying to get through this already. What's going on, Papa J? Yeah, Papa J's right in the thick of Georgia down there. He says he's already had his car magnets stolen. Jeez.
That's rough.
Papa J, hopefully you get the last laugh. What's up, David? Good to see you, man. Hey, boys, we can win this game. Go Big Orange. I'm going to get to this question in just a moment, Kyle. You guys are reading my mind where I'm going on this. Some of you guys are talking about it. The boo on offense. You could use him as a decoy. That's not a bad idea because if anybody that's watched Tennessee in history knows if a defensive guy comes in, he's probably getting the ball. So you definitely could on that. Run some kind of fake reverse or something. Could be pretty interesting. Let me get all these caught up. I'm going to hit this to Joey do more RPOs and utilize the tight end. I'm going to make note of that one because that was one of the things that I wanted to talk about. I keep kind of dragging this along. I'm trying to we're at 98. We get this thing to 100, and we'll talk Georgia week. So 2 people. Now we're talking it regardless. So Mason Guest, member of the channel. Hope Danny's got an Army security guards if he wants to avoid that fine. I got a feeling. Yeah, well, this Adidas will pay for the fine. We got it taken care of. So, all right. Anything else on ETSU before we move along? Anything else we didn't discuss on that one?
It was interesting. They had 2 Power 4 quarterbacks there. Just kind of seemed kind of weird to me.
McNamara, I know, came from Iowa. Where was it the other dude came from?
North Carolina, I believe they said. I think McNamara was at Michigan as well at one point.
They had a Michigan guy. I can't remember if it was this year or last year, though. It was, but I don't know how they pulled. Wasn't McNamara an Iowa starter at one point?
I'm not sure where all he's been
as well.
What's that?
He started at Michigan as well.
Cade McNamara did?
Yeah.
Did he go to Iowa too, or am I wrong on that?
I'm pretty sure he went to Iowa too, because I think he was at Michigan whenever Joe Milton was there.
Okay. He wasn't the quarterback when we played Iowa a couple years ago, was he?
No.
Okay.
They had that. Right. Remember, they had that like 3rd or 4th string that was just a random guy they got from the gas station.
I forgot about that. Yeah, they played like gas station offense too. That was hard to think back to that game and how we were just, oh man, Nico, woo, yeah. Yeah, that was totally a sign of things to come. But
he threw for 120, but we was excited.
He threw for like 150 the potential. Yards. He made that touchdown. One throw on the run. We can see it coming next year. It's we saw it. All right, we saw it all there. But I think that trade has worked out pretty good. It's looking like, but we're going to find out more this week. In Nico's defense last year, he still went 10-2 or 10-3 to the playoffs. I think a lot of it was in spite, but that says a lot about. It says a lot to me the last 2 years about hype on this staff. The fact that they won 10 games and 9 games with Nico and Joe Milton in there. I think that speaks for itself. Here now, you've got a guy who seems to process things quickly. He can run the system. They can run the whole system, it looks like. And because you can't tell me the last 2 years that the offense was just not dialed back so much. We didn't see the pre-snap movement. We seen the same stuff all the time. Now you're starting to see what resembles a little more of a Heupel offense. So let's get into Georgia talk this week. I'm going to start it off on this one because I will say this. I'm not making a prediction on this one. I'm not doing it. I'm just not. But I will say this, there is no doubt in my mind, especially in the Heupel era, this is Tennessee's best shot to get Georgia. They're not, and I don't know when they're going to get a better shot to get Georgia either. Because, I mean, let's face it, Georgia's going to keep loading in on talent. Their recruiting classes are going to keep bringing them in. They're going to bring guys in through the portal. You know, they've been pretty solid at quarterback under Kirby Smart. I think maybe Stockton is too, but he's still unknown right now. To me, though, you're getting them third game of the season. That's not happened since I think I saw 95. Tennessee used to own them when they played the second or third game of the season. I'm not saying Tennessee gets back to owning them, but Tennessee's got to beat them. If Heupel's going to get to that next level, he's got to beat Georgia. They're the one team that has had his number. And, you know, I think there's a lot of unknown about Georgia through the first two games. They've done what they were supposed to do. People have said, well, you know, they weren't impressive doing it. Don't mean nothing. Means nothing till this week. They still did what they needed to do the last 2 weeks. But if you're Heupel, if you're this staff, that you're not going to get a better time, man. And so much to do. Opening thoughts, Kerry Williams, on Georgia week. You going to be there this weekend?
Yep, I'll be there.
All right. Opening thoughts. What are you thinking? Where are you going?
I think it's just being the third game of the season, it's a little bit tough of predicting like how the game will go because you really don't know too much about either team, especially considering, I mean, Georgia, we saw Stockton like twice last year, and we saw him not play good at all against Notre Dame. So he's still unproven. I mean, he played, albeit he did play really good in the SEC championship game. I felt like he did not look good against Notre Dame. He didn't throw for a touchdown pass this past weekend against Austin Peay. Austin Peay gave him fits. I don't know what the weather was like. I know there was a weather delay, but
yeah, I think
the score was close. But I'm not going to hate on them for that kind of close game with Austin Peay because we literally just did it 2 years ago. So Austin Peay, I don't know what they're doing before they play SEC teams to keep the game within 30 points, but it seems to be working. Overall, I feel like, I mean, this is, of course, your best chance. It really stinks from Tennessee's position, knowing that you do have Ricky Gibson and Jamad McCoy out. Then you also you got to hope and pray that Jackson Moy comes back. And then Hobbs as well. I don't think Hobbs is going to play this week, but it'd be great to have him back. It's just rough seeing those injuries, especially on the perimeter and especially in the interior defensive line, just because, I mean, going into this game, that's the biggest thing to me is how does our defensive line stack up against their offensive line? Because if you look back to last year, Georgia had a banged up offensive line. That was a big storyline going into the game. Same storyline you could say going into this game. But last year it was Tennessee's defensive line. Oh, they're so good. We're like 12, 13, 14 deep. We rotate. And guess what? We didn't get a single sack last year. We didn't even come close to touching Carson Beck.
Touching, did they?
It just absolutely dominated us. And that was really embarrassing. So I feel like that's something like you have to be able to put pressure on Stockton. I mean, you don't have to be a good quarterback. We've seen that for years at Georgia. You don't have to be an incredible quarterback. The offensive line can just protect. You're going to have guys open. Eventually, guys are going to come open. We saw that with countless Georgia quarterbacks over the past few years with Kirby Smart. You don't have to be the best quarterback. You just got to have a good brain. You got to be the opposite of Nico pretty much. You just got to be an accurate quarterback, and you'll get the job done. So, I mean, that's my biggest thing going into the game is their offensive line against their defensive line, and can we actually put pressure on them?
I mean, I think you hit it, and I'll kick it to you and went back with you. I think you hit it on the head there. It's kind of the same story last year. Everybody's saying, we're going to dominate their offensive line. And then we got dominated.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there was talk about that same thing against Ohio State in the playoff game. Oh, yeah, we can dominate their line. Nope. These teams that have been building for years with elite talent, it's shown. It's shown in those games. And I know they're talking about the two, Gaston and one more. What are they going to do? And Kirby, he kind of said they didn't really know today. But, that comes to mind for me, and especially with us being beat up. on it. Backwoods, what's your thoughts going into this week on it?
I'm right there with you, Frank. If you're a Josh Heupel and you're Tennessee, you have got to get over this hump of Georgia. I mean, you've got to. This has been kind of it's been kind of the one team that we play consistently that Heupel just seems like he has no answer for. Um, Heupel has yet to score more than 17 points against Georgia. I mean, I agree. Heupel's a great offensive mind, but at some point he has to put together a good offensive game plan against Georgia. He just has to. Kirby has had his. I mean, he's had his number every year that we've been there. I know 2022, it rained, whatever. It messed the passing game up. And I'm sick of excuses against Georgia. At some point, you have to go out there and put together a full game against them. I I'm out there with you. I think this is the one chance. If you're going to do it, it needs to be this year. You're going to be in Neyland. It's going to be, prime time. College game day is going to be there. Like you said, 3:30, prime time, get time of the day. Neyland's going to be rocking. Carrying, 100,000 of his closest friends are going to be there, screaming their heads
Checker
off.
Neyland too.
Checker Neyland. I did see that as well. If you're Heupel, this is the time that you have to put it all together and get it done. If not now, then when? Like you said, Gunnar Stockton's unproven. I think last week is the first time that Georgia hadn't scored a touchdown using a tight end since 2021. How does that tight end room look? I know it was just Austin P. And or whatever, but Georgia's always done that for the past 2 or 3 years. They've played with their food the first week, week 1 and week 2, and then they come out and they just absolutely dominate their first SEC opponent. It seems like. I did see that, one of the tight ends, he's a freshman tight end that's carved out a starting spot, that Ethan Barber. I think he plays fullback a lot for them in week 1 and week 2. He has an ankle injury; he's not going to be playing. So they will be a little bit shorthanded on the tight end position. But I had a list of concerns that I was just kind of, I know you're going to talk about the David Sanders situation later. Obviously not having McCoy and Ricky Gibson is a concern for me. Luckily, Hood and Ty Redmond have both played well, but Ty Redmond's still a true freshman. How's he going to react going against elite SEC competition? I think that's something to keep an eye out for. But I don't know. How's Aguilar going to play against elite defense? Like you say, he's not been sacked yet or whatever. He's going to have guys chasing him Saturday. Is he going to be able to be athletic enough to get out of that pocket, make some plays with his legs? I think that's something, that a quarterback in Josh Heupel's offense has to have. You have to be able to make a few plays with your legs whenever everything goes to chaos. Can he do that? And can he also still make the good throws against, coverage that's going to be a lot tighter than what he's seen in week 1 and week 2? But, like you said, if Heupel, if you're going to do it, this is your best chance to get them while they're down a little bit, because we all know that Georgia doesn't stay down for very long.
Yeah, and I think too, if you look at it, you mentioned, I think a point you mentioned about, can Aguilar recognize and get out? Last 2 years, Nico, Milton really didn't do that much. It was pretty rare they would on it. The year when Heupel was getting going with Hooker, especially those big games, Bama, Florida, Hooker's making things happen with his legs. Aguilar is going to have to do that on Saturday because, like you said, he's going to get chased this week. There will be pressure. We talk about David Sanders Jr. I don't start him this week. Now, if I need to bring somebody in, I would bring him in, maybe get his feet wet a little bit. But if something's not working, you can adjust a little bit. But I get more time for him against UAB. That's just my opinion on it. I don't think this is the ideal ideal week for him to start. But I've not seen if they said he could play or not. It's kind of surprising he hasn't already. Some people asked earlier about RPO. Do they do? I think you got to do more RPO this week. Do you not agree? You got to have Aguilar ready to go. You got to run the ball. We have not run the football against Georgia at any point. And like you said,
Well,
They
Samson did last year.
what's that?
Samson did run the ball pretty well against them last year.
But overall, though, their yardage was not that great, though, was it?
No, Samson had like 101 yards. Of course,
Mhm.
nobody other than that did anything, but he's
Yeah.
the only person that, I mean, Jalen Wright had the one play. That was it. Other than that,
Yeah.
they just completely shut us down.
The
Yeah.
literal one good play in that whole game, wasn't it? But, I mean, you've got to be able to run some. I mean, I don't expect 200, 250 yards.
No.
But you've got to be able to establish a run. You know, some people brought it up in the comments here. Can the receivers get separation? I mean, I feel like that's something Georgia has had their number with. I mean, you mentioned 2022 Georgia and the bad weather. If the weather hadn't been bad, Georgia would have beat us by 4 or 5 touchdowns that day. They had to dial it back because of the rain. That score was a whole lot closer than what the actual game was. They pretty much, I think Tennessee got close sometime in the first half, and then that was it. I mean, they dominated Tennessee's offensive line. That's been the difference. A lot of it is that they're a lot more physical than Tennessee. They've been a lot more physical. Like you mentioned, Kirby's had Heupel's number.
Oh, yeah.
Anything he does at this point. I mean, to me, the key, if you're I mean, didn't we kind of establish Tennessee played more zone on defense last year against them?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what
And
I
they
was,
got ate
even
up.
though I think the stats said something they blitzed more.
We did blitz a
They
lot
weren't
last
getting
year.
close, but
No,
what's
they
that?
weren't, because they had to start blitzing last year because they weren't doing jack squat, just rushing 3 to 4 guys. So they had to start blitzing linebackers, and that's when Carson Beck ate us apart pretty much.
Yeah.
They
just with the tight
destroyed
ends.
us across the middle. I mean, the
Yeah.
tight ends killed us across the middle.
I mean, that's something to keep in mind this week. I've seen it said that Stockton does not use the middle of the field much, but will. I mean, if you're Georgia, it's there.
I would
I mean,
look into that. I mean,
I
we know
would.
how good of a coach team they are. I mean, I've seen that firsthand. This will be the third time I've watched Kirby Smart coach, or actually fourth or fifth time. Fourth, probably. We'll go four. I mean, Jalen Wright takes the opening play to the house. Neyland Stadium breaks the decibel record. It's an insane madhouse in there. I mean, that was of course. I mean, it's the loudest play in college football history, and I can fully attest to that. My brain just completely shut off, and their sideline was completely composed. It truly was. And then they literally marched down the field. Like Neyland was as loud as it possibly could have been, and they just marched down the field like it was nothing. Calm, composed, collected, whatever you want to call it. Kirby Smart looked chill like nothing happened before that, and then they just simply dominated after that. So they're a good coach team. I think I wouldn't be worried of, like we've heard that in past, like, oh, their quarterback can't do this. Well, Kirby Smart's he's gonna find a way. He always finds a way. He doesn't have 2 national championship rings by fluke, so I wouldn't worry about like that kind of things of, oh, they're not gonna be able to do this. They probably will. Their coaches are good enough. They can find a way. That was the thing last year. It was, oh, how's Georgia going to be able to stop Tennessee's defensive line? Coaching did a pretty daggum good job. We didn't get a single sack on them. So I would say the coaching's good, and they get their guys extremely well prepared.
Well, I think you got to look out too on that is, you know, we said earlier, have we seen all of Tennessee's playbook? We've not seen all of Georgia's playbook either.
No.
I mean, you could guarantee that. So, I mean, especially if their tight ends didn't score a touchdown. How long did you say it'd been, Landon?
2021. First time since 2021.
And we know how good Georgia is with the tight ends. So, I mean, that's, you know, I mean, the thing to me on it is the key to, I'll throw it to you guys and then I'll come at the end on it. What's the key to you when it's Georgia's offense versus Tennessee's defense?
Who do you want to go first?
Landon, or Backwoods. I'm sorry.
I was looking at the Ardor key, and he said key to our offense versus Georgia defense.
Georgia's offense versus Tennessee's defense.
I think you can't let Gunnar Stockton sit back in the pocket and get comfortable early. That's going to be a terrible scenario for you if you let him sit back there, get 2, 3, 4 easy passes, and he's going to get some confidence. That's the last thing you want a young quarterback, or someone that's not played in this type of environment to have right off the bat. You're going to have to, even if you don't get to him, you're going to have to pressure him or make him just somewhat uncomfortable. Some of Tennessee's defensive lineman's going to have to get home, and if you don't get the sack, at least be there. Get him off platform a little bit. Don't let him just sit back there with a clean pocket and don't, he has a 5-yard circumference around him. He feels no pressure. And I think our DBs are going to have to step up. I know, like we said, Redmond's a true freshman. Hood, it's his first year here. We're going to have to lean on those guys a little bit, because you don't have your All-American. You don't have Ricky Gibson. You don't have the 2 guys that got paid a lot of money to be here again this year, unfortunately, in one of the biggest games of the year. So you're going to have to lean on some of those guys that's not really been here. I just think our big time players have got to make big time plays. Your Arian Carters, your guys like your Dawgs on defense, no pun intended, they've got to show up and make big time plays this Saturday because, like y'all said, you're not going to beat Georgia by accident, right? If you beat Georgia, you did something. If you beat a Kirby Smart coach team, you have done something. So I just look for Tim Banks to show up, just put together a good defensive game plan. Uh, you know, don't be too conservative. Don't be too gun ho. Getting after them. Just put together a complete game plan and lean on your big time playmakers to make big time plays.
I mean, if you're them, do you not look at what did Notre Dame do against them last year?
Yeah.
What did Ole Miss do against them last year, even though it was Carson Beck at quarterback? But I think you've got to look at what Notre Dame did to throw Stockton off because I think Stockton's still an unknown, but, I mean, he's got talent. And when's the last time we saw a Georgia quarterback look bad against Tennessee? So
Been a while.
Yeah. So, I mean, and it's guys that all of them are talented at play, but some of them maybe not having the best year. And then all of a sudden play Tennessee. And, yep, there's number 1 pick Carson Beck showing up.
There he is.
Kerry, what do you think going this weekend? Georgia's offense versus Tennessee's defense. What are your keys in that?
I would say, I mean, it's easy to pick out. Like you could pick out the corner spots, and you could also pick out the defensive line. But I would say linebacker play. I think that's probably the most important thing from our defense this upcoming week. Arian Carter has to have a great game, and you also need Jeremiah Thielander and Edwin Spillman to have great games as well. Even Trey Petit, however you say his name, him have a good game as well. We saw that.
So I don't think you'll see him.
There's somebody that's number.
Harmon?
I think it's number. Yeah, Harmon. That's his name. Those 4 guys, I think they have to play good. Carter has to have a great game. It's honestly what you've seen with Georgia, like ever since Kirby Smart's got there. They always have like a really elite linebacker. I think Carter needs to have that kind of game, especially considering the fact that they're going to be physical. They're going to try to run the ball. And you also need to be able to have guys that match up with their tight ends. And if good linebacker play can help take some of the ease off of maybe a banged up defensive line, and if the linebackers are getting pressure on the quarterback, it takes a lot of stress off of Redmond and Hood as well. So I just feel like the linebacker play is extremely important this week, just because we've seen that, like against Syracuse, the linebackers, they feasted against Syracuse. Of course, they did against ETSU as well, but then again, that's ETSU. So I really do hope that the linebackers have a great game, and I would definitely say that's the key for the defense this week.
I think those 3 you mentioned, Carter, Thielander, Spillman to me is the game changer of the 3. I think he just brings that because he's got I mean, he's shot out of a cannon when he comes in. He's got to get in and force some things. Thielander's got to be solid. Carter's got to be solid as well, doing their things. To me, I'm looking at Georgia running the ball versus Tennessee's defensive line. That's where I feel like, if Moy is out, Hobbs is already out. So you got to think that's going to mean more Dominic Bailey inside Bryson Eason. Of course, they're probably going to have to play a lot of snaps. And, Nathan Robinson should be good to go. Hopefully he plays like he did against Syracuse, played a really good game. But you're going to need more than that in it.
You need Tyree West.
Yes. Yeah, he graded out really high last week, too. I mean,
need him.
Take him how you want on that. But, yeah, Tyree West has got to play a big-time game as well. If Georgia is able to just run the football down Tennessee's throats, it's going to be a long day.
Yeah.
It's going to be a long day because that's then going to open up play action. And I'll be honest, I've got concerns about our safeties. I've still got concerns about our safeties. I'm not that concerned about Tyler Redmond and Colton Hood. The stars have got to do their job, whether it's McMurray or Booth Carter. And I wouldn't hesitate, and I know Banks won't, but Turrentine against Syracuse, he cannot take an angle. I wouldn't hesitate to put McMurray or Boo back at safety. I know they won't do it, but the safeties have got to do their job. They've got to be there in zone. They can't get lost or whatever it is happens. But the key to me, because you look back at the numbers against Syracuse, and Syracuse didn't necessarily have great numbers running the ball, but I thought as the game went along, they started establishing a run. I know they had a big line. They had a big running back in there, but I got to think if Syracuse is, Georgia's going to establish it too. If Tennessee can kind of keep them in check, I think they're going to want to put it on Stockton to win that game. If you can put it on him and kind of peel your ears back and just bring the house on him, that'll be big. I'm trying to think back. Notre Dame was bringing the house on him quite a bit last year, were they not?
Yeah, they got a lot of pressure last year.
Yeah, that's the key. That's the key. If they're intent, you probably got to try to see if you can get some pressure a little bit in zone. You can't blitz every single play. Let's be honest with it. But do you go man to man? Do you go zone with it? That's the key to me. If we can keep that run game in check, which easier said than done, they're going to want to establish it. If we can, that opens a whole lot of things up. And then I got to find it. I got to find this comment here. Let me find it. G. White 7136, member of the channel earlier today, had put on here a stat. I had not seen this, said that in this game it's been, what was his I got to find this comment. It was pretty interesting. He said that let me find it here. He said the fact no Georgia quarterback in their first year starting with fewer than 10 starts has ever come to Neyland in their first season and beat Tennessee. That was a pretty interesting stat. So we don't need to let this be. What's that?
Did Jake Fromm not do that?
He was already 10 starts in probably, though, wasn't he? Or was he not?
I don't know. I'm researching.
Did we play him first when Fromm was – did we play him at Georgia first?
I don't think so. Because I'm pretty sure he was a true freshman.
I don't know. Maybe so. I've not double-checked the stat on it. So it's we'll see how it goes there. That's key to me. Keep that run game in check, and we're good. Flip it to the other side on it as well. Tennessee offense versus Georgia defense. We'll go with this one. You researching that, Kerry? I figured you looked like you're on it. I'll throw it to backwoods and then let Kerry come in with what he found on that one. So Tennessee offense versus Georgia defense. Keys.
Yeah, I think Tennessee and Georgia are both going to go into the game kind of wanting to do the same thing. I think they both want to establish the run, play good defense, and I don't think they both necessarily want to put the game all on the shoulders of their quarterback. So if you're Tennessee, can you establish that run? Can you pick up, 4 or 5, 6 yards on first down and kind of, and on offense, I've heard that, the snapping the ball was kind of an issue in fall camp. We need to go ahead and nip that in the bud if we can, against teams like Syracuse, ETSU, maybe even your Mississippi States and Kentucky's, maybe you can, have a bad snap or two. Probably no more than one, but maybe you can live with that. Against teams like Georgia, Alabama, you can't afford to have those mistakes, especially on your side of the field. So, clean up and don't have any penalties. Don't get behind the chains on any drives. I think in 2022, I think Eric Ames made the comment that, Sanford Stadium wasn't that loud, and they took that very personally. And,
Mhm.
Tennessee had I can't remember how many false start penalties they had in that game, which you shot themselves in the foot. I think Saturday you cannot get behind the chains. I think by this time, surely you can limit some of those. Don't hurt yourself if you can. And, if you're receivers, you have to get open, you have to catch the ball. Joey Aguilar's numbers would even be better than they are now if receivers, tight ends, running backs, everybody included could just make the catch. Some have been, maybe outside of where they'd like to have the ball, but they've been pretty good throws, and some of them, you're a D1, this is easy for me to say sitting here, but, if you're a D1 football player on a scholarship making, a bunch of money, you need to be able to make some of those catches. So, you stop dropping the ball so much and finish drives, against a team like Georgia. If you get in the red zone, need to get it in the end zone, sell them for field goals. Feel like in a game like this, come back to bite you. So if you, get some momentum, you're having a good drive, go ahead and punch it in, try not to have any mistakes, or missed opportunities that have to result in 3 points or even having to punt the ball. And, yeah, Aguilar just keep being that guy. Give him time to throw the ball. Don't put too much on him. Don't put him in, 1st and 15, 3rd and 10 situations. Make it as easy on him as possible. And, if you're Joey Aguilar, like we mentioned earlier, if you have to make some plays with your legs, take off and get what you can. If you could take off and run and get 4 or 5 yards, I would much rather have that than trying to squeeze a ball into a space where it's going to get tipped and pick off, or stripped. So take what you can, limit, mistakes that can get you beat. And God forbid if at the end of the game it comes down to a situation where you throw the ball or run out of bounds, I prefer you not run out of bounds.
Gosh, man, you had to go there on that one. You hit this super chat here. Eric Turn for 20. Thank you so much, man. Really appreciate your generosity on that, Eric. Said, sorry if you covered this or arriving late, but what do you make suggestions? Kirby was holding Stockton back against P. Offensively, they didn't look quite good enough to be holding back. I didn't watch it. I didn't watch Georgia and Austin P, to be honest with you. I mean, part of me would say that they didn't show their hand. I would say it was a very vanilla offense with it. And I think Kerry alluded to it earlier. Whatever happens with Austin P playing SEC teams, I don't know how they do it, but they do it. I know it's not the same coach because he went to, who was it, UTEP? Maybe it was.
I think
because
so.
Tennessee played him last year. They played him 2 years in a row on different teams. But I would say Georgia didn't show probably a whole lot the last 2 weeks. I mean, I could be wrong on that. It's a good question, though, on it. But I think, you look at it as well. Well, I'll go to Kerry. What'd you find out on your stat, Kerry?
On September 30th, 2017, Jake Fromm, a true freshman, walked into Neyland Stadium and beat Tennessee 41-0. So that stat is indeed wrong.
What start of the year was that for him?
Probably like 3rd or 4th.
Okay. So he was a true freshman when he came to Neyland? Okay.
Because Jacob Eason got hurt. And then he got thrown into the fire. So and he took over after that.
Oh, so he wouldn't even have started the year as a starter then, would he?
Nope.
There you go. Nope. Kerry Williams,
The reason why I remember that is because I was at that game.
Masters.
I sat through that 41
show. You better triple check it.
That's right. I mean, remember last year he had David Sanders Jr. downgraded to a 3-star, so it's
maybe that's why he's not starting.
Maybe not. Maybe the 3-star panned out on that one. But Kerry, what's your thoughts off Tennessee offense versus Georgia defense this week?
I think you have to do really good at the things that we need to be good at. That's running the ball. You have 3 amazing running backs. You have to take the pressure off of Joey and the rest of the offense. So just have the running backs do their job essentially. Joey just needs to make smart decisions with the football. He's going to have to make a few plays. and you need to be able to trust him. You don't need to have that same scaredness that you had with Nico and Milton. So I think you just kind of got to let him make some plays, square out to the left, and have an Aaron Rodgers heave to the end zone. Just let Mike Matthews make the catch again. And you just also have to have the wide receivers just do their job. Catch the ball. If it hits your hands, catch the ball. If you get 3 to 4 drops this game, it's going to be hard to win, because that definitely does change the outcome of the football game, especially against a team that's going to be as good defensively as Georgia is. So I would definitely say wide receivers they just need to do what they need to do. They don't need to drop the football. Joey just needs to put it on target, and then just let the running backs do what they can do. I think if the running backs play as good as they can carry us to a win, and Joey doesn't have to necessarily show too much, because this is Joey's first start. I'm sure it'll be amazing for him to experience Neyland at full capacity and at full strength. It's going to be in a crazy environment. So it's very important that we do start the game and run the football, because the last thing we want to do is into the first quarter and it'd be like 10-0 or something. And you play catch up, because we played catch up every year that Kirby Smart's been there except 2016, and it's never panned out. So you want to start out good, running backs be good, Joey just be accurate with the football, do what he's done the past 2 weeks, and Tennessee should be in a pretty good position.
I think you made the key. Can't get down 10-0, because I mean you can attest to this. You were there enough. Like, I can't remember which games you went to backwoods last year. You might be able to back it up too, but in those games where Tennessee couldn't score in the first half, how long till the crowd was out of those games? I mean, I know they came back later on, but naturally, when the offense is not doing anything, if the crowd's going to get out of the game, how long did it take for them to be kind of a lot more silent than they normally would be?
I would say, like, the Florida game, just it being Florida, that was a big impact. So the crowd wasn't really there, but at halftime, it was demoralizing. I mean, it was as depressing as it could have been in there, and that really stunk. And the offense didn't necessarily do too much to make it that good of a game after that. And I kind of felt like Kentucky was just kind of a snooze fest last year. We, of course, came back and won that game, but that was the same feeling right around halftime of, it's like, what are we doing? Like, why are we in this position again? So both those games last year, it was just halftime was just extremely depressing. So it's one of those things where it's like the crowd can get into it. There could be 80,000 people in the stands, and if it's a close game in the fourth quarter, you're probably not going to tell a difference whenever it comes to the sound. It's just a matter of, you just can't get out. You can't get in too big of a hole early. If you're going to get in a hole, you got to dig out of it. If Georgia scores first, you got to answer back fast. You can't get down 14-0. You can't get down 14-3. You can't play chase up the rest of the game, because that's a recipe for disaster for Tennessee. Yeah,
you're exactly right on that one. And welcome back to the show, Backwoods, Tennessee, in the house here. But you cannot get in a hole. And the biggest thing too, that crowd is going to be fired up Saturday, especially first big home game. I mean, last weekend was just one of those, you get the vocal cords tuned up a little bit. This one, I mean, you guys have mentioned all of game days in town, Checker, Neyland, first SEC game. I mean, it kind of, in a respect, feels like the Bama 2022, where you can kind of taste we might be able to get them this year. And it's up to this staff too. Maybe I feel like, you guys tell me if I'm wrong, does it feel like this staff trusts Aguilar more than the last two guys?
Yep.
I mean, it seems that way. I mean, we'll learn more this week, and especially this. Aguilar has played against some good teams. He's not played against the Georgia defense, though. I mean, let's just face it. This offensive line has done a really good job so far. They've not played against a Georgia defense. Yeah, Georgia's going to want to get the run game going. I'm really curious to see how they go with that. You got to think Deshaun Bishop's coming out of the gate. They'll probably go same order, Bishop, Lewis, Thomas. But, I'll be curious to see at what point it's like, yeah, this dude's hot. Let's ride him for a bit. Give him a breather when we need to. Hopefully all three guys are hot But that's where we go on it. I think you've got to get Aguilar out of the pocket. I think you've got to get him out of the pocket. So let him make some plays when it breaks down, similar to like what Hendon Hooker could do on it. Don't hit the middle. Use the middle of the field. Do what they did. They had some nice plays against Syracuse. And receivers got to catch them. I mean, the one play against Syracuse where it looked like it was a running back swing, Chris Brazel breaks on a slant wide open. I mean, he would have gotten tackled by the safety, but still it was a perfect play and he dropped it. You got to catch that. Brazel had a really good game last week. Get the run game going. I'm thinking we see more of the tight ends this week. I'll be surprised if we don't. But still, let your playmakers make some plays. Mike Matthews, we're seeing it with him, can make plays. Staley can make plays. I don't know if you'll see many more receivers than that. We pretty much against Syracuse saw 3 receivers. I don't know. I think they'll keep it close to the vest. I think it'd be same with tight ends. You'll probably see Kitzelman and Ethan Davis. I don't know if you see your freshman on that or not. The only way, somebody Knoxville Predator catcher, what's up, man? He mentioned leave Sanders on the bench. I mean, I don't know if he'll be cleared to play, but I'm definitely not starting him this week. I mean, I can assure you that, but we'll see about it. I'm confused on this one. Didn't Cade beat out Milton? Is there something I'm not sure on that one. You might have to go in a little more detail, Michael. I might just be having a brain cramp, but Joey not throwing guys open, but rather waiting on him to get open. I mean, I don't know. I don't know about that. I mean, he's had some. I mean, there's definitely been some passes where I can assure you, Mike Matthews wasn't open on that touchdown Saturday on that throw. And he did the same thing. It was almost a touchdown against Syracuse where he threw it deep and it went over Brazel. If Matthews would have kept running, I think he would have had a touchdown on it. But I don't know. I don't know that I agree with that. I think there's been. I mean, Kitzelman had the one-handed catch against Syracuse. I mean, he wasn't open on that. He made a play with it. So I don't know that I agree with that one. I think there's definitely sometimes he is, but there's times as well it's timing routes. Also, Aguilar is the key to me. Make plays with it, but if they can run it some, what do y'all think's a good number to hit running the football Saturday? I mean, let's be realistic. Yeah, it would be great if we went for over 200 on it. But let's be realistic about it. What would be a good number that you're saying if this happens, we're going to have a really good shot of winning the football game on Saturday? Kerry, I'll let you go on that one.
170.
170. Backwoods, what do you think?
Range of 150, 170, If you could do that, I feel pretty good about it.
I'd take that range as well. What are we thinking total offense? Think we can get 400 on them?
I was thinking 400. You feel pretty good?
I think like 375.
375. I would be curious what we got against them. Have we hit 400 against them under Heupel? I don't think we have.
I don't think there's any chance we've hit that.
Don't even know if we hit 300 on it. I'm going to see if I can find let's see what we got here. We'll see if I got the stat. The last matchup, let's see, here's the full box score. Tennessee went for, I mean, neither team just lit it up in that game. Wait a minute, no. I'm looking. We went for 319 in that game. Georgia lit us up passing. Beck went for 347. We ran for 152 on them and held them to 106. You would have kind of thought that maybe we would have done better. That was last year, 31-17. I mean, I got a pretty good feeling in 23 3 that it was pretty bad. Let's see here. Let's see. Yeah, we had a whopping 277 yards in that one.
75 of them came on the first play of the game.
Yeah, I know. 2022, I can't imagine that we lit the world up on that one. We had 289. Didn't even rush for 100 yards in that one. 27-13. Georgia beat us 41-17 and 21. Let's see how bad this one was. Total yardage. Oh, boy, this is looking beautiful as I go down the line. 387. Tennessee threw for 332 that game, so I guess playing from behind. So that's the most, 387. But I think Backwoods mentioned earlier, Tennessee's not scored over 17 points in a game against Georgia under Heupel. What is a safe number if we hit on the scoreboard? You say we're winning this football game.
24.
I mean, yeah, I was thinking, 24-30. That's pretty close to what my prediction is there. And another funny thing is I'm pretty sure I read today or heard on a podcast. In all 4 games so far, Heupel has scored the first touchdown against Georgia.
And all 4 of them?
I'm pretty sure if I heard that correctly today, he's went up 7-0 on Georgia all 4 years. I was at the 2021 game. There, Bayless Jones, he ran a little drag, and they hit him in the corner of the end zone there, and Needham went absolutely crazy. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure that Heupel's went up 7-0 on Georgia all the 4 years he's been there, which is crazy to think.
Oh, Cade McNamara beating out Joe Milton at Michigan. Oh, okay. I didn't think about that. I knew I was probably having a brain cramp on that one. Okay, interesting. But so, Kerry, what's your number? If we hit
24.
this score, we're winning Saturday.
24.
You say 24?
Yeah.
Could you see either team blowing the other one out?
Yes. I think either team could definitely win by 10 plus.
What did Ole Miss beat Georgia by last year?
I think it was like 20 something, I want to say. I mean, it was a whooping.
Yeah.
It was definitely Kirby Smart's most embarrassing performance in his tenure at UGA.
I mean, I think you got to be looking at that too. What were they able to do?
They got pressure.
I mean, because
They got pressure
I
on the
know they had
quarterback.
Dart, which
I think they had 6 sacks that game.
Yeah.
So
okay.
you get 6
Yeah,
sacks.
and then we turned around and couldn't even touch him.
Yeah.
Because it was right after that, was it not? That
Yeah,
Tennessee played them?
Yeah, it was right after that.
Yeah, because we were feeling good about it. And then, the rest, what was it, a touchdown game with like 7-8 minutes to go? And I was thinking there was something quirky that happened too along the line. I definitely
false starts that weren't called false starts. So I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, some people mentioned in comments. I know Georgia was holding all night long too.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty obvious. So we'll see, man. I mean, we keep their running game in check. We get a little bit of one going. That's the thing. Looking at each game, neither team has just run the ball at will on the other one. So I mean, I think it's going to come down to which quarterback can make more plays this weekend. The good thing is Neyland has got to make it tough on Gunnar Stockton. It's got to be where he can't make checks. They can't hear. The 12th man is going to be vital this weekend. But for the 12th man to be vital, this team's got to keep them. Got to keep the crowd in the game for sure. Score early, play D, do your thing on it. I don't expect a real high scoring game, but I would be happy to be wrong and see Tennessee just come out and pour it on them for once. But against Georgia, to me, a 1-point win, a win is a win on it. So we'll see how it goes. So any final thoughts before I'm going to ask y'all if you want to make a prediction and then we get out of here? Anything we've not discussed? I know one. What about special teams? Could that be who's got the advantage there? What do we know about Georgia's special teams?
They definitely have Jackson Ross is a great punter, but they still have Thorson. He's a great punter. We of course have the punt return advantage. Kickoff returns, I don't know what we're doing on that aspect. Boo Carter needs to be back there returning kickoff returns too. That doesn't make much sense to me why he's not doing that. Because if he's this good returning punts, how is he not good returning kicks? And how is the other guys that you put back there good enough, better than he is at returning kickoffs? And it's just one of those things where it's like we have the advantage there. Gilbert's very reliable. Overall, both teams have really good special teams. And last year there was the huge play. It was Thorson punted the ball to Boo Carter, and Boo Carter had a great return, and Thorson made the touchdown saving tackle. So it's just special teams made a huge impact on last year's game, and I'm sure there'll be another instance this week that could possibly decide the game.
Yeah, the Boo Carter thing could be the difference. Could be the difference if they kick to him. And Tennessee doesn't need to be cute about it. I don't need to see DeJuan Morris or Staley or anybody else back there.
Yeah.
Put Boo Carter back there and let him go. Let him do his thing on it. I'm like you on the kick return. I don't even think they take kick return serious anymore. Just freaking fair catch it. When they bring it out, they get to, at best, about the 20-yard line or so. Yeah. Maybe the 25. And there's not even any hope of it. So,
but I also think
it's like they run straight forward. And
yeah, I think it's a lot to do with like the mental thing, or just like the football players that the guys that are really good kickoff returners are. Like Boo Carter, you see it on punt returns. Like he shifts and he's on a different side of the field just like that. You don't see that with the guys we put back there to kickoff returns. Morris and Peyton Lewis and like Matthews and those guys, they're not just stopping on a dime and cutting the other direction like Boo Carter is. And I watched the kickoff return this past weekend. A guy just took it, missed one guy, and ran straight into the other guy. It doesn't make sense. It's not like they're not trying to make this huge play and cut across everybody. It's just kind of like in their mindset, it's kind of like just get to the 25, which is kind of confusing to me.
Tennessee wins on Saturday. What player's being talked about the most?
Joey.
Probably, yeah.
Joey Aguilar, I think it's him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If Tennessee loses on Saturday, who's the fans going to want to fire?
Tim Banks.
I think that's probably the common one. I'm not in the fire Tim Banks crowd. I like Tim Banks. I think he's a good defensive coordinator.
Yeah, I don't think he's up for he may not be up for the running for getting another huge coaching job somewhere else, being a head coach somewhere like they said he was last year after we started out so good defensively. Then that kind of fell off, and then now it's like we'll see after this game if the hype around him of he's going to go take a big head coaching job somewhere. Well, he had one good season last year. Before that, they were not very good seasons. So far this year, it's been a little bit iffy. So we'll definitely see how that turns out. I don't think you can
blame him for all those rough seasons. The talent was not there.
I don't know. It was pathetic. There's a difference of
like have a lot of talent when they took over.
There was decent talent, I would say. Good enough if a good coach, a really good coach, could do something. Not just, look at what Purdue did against us with a bald guy wide receiver. So
yeah,
it
was. I still say it was. Now I don't think there's the excuse, but at the same time, though, how much are those tackles going to be? That was something I thought was going to be a strength, and it's there's not a lot of depth though there now. I think you got to use those linebackers the way they've been recruiting.
Yep.
A guy like Spillman, got to turn him loose. I want to see your dynamic guys. Carter is. I wouldn't consider T-Lander a dynamic guy. He's solid. He's a solid football player. Spillman is dynamic. Jaden Harmon has got the potential to be dynamic. I don't know how much they trust to put him in, but same with Boo at star, dynamic with it. I think Hood and Redmond can make plays, but I think Backwoods alluded to it earlier. They've not seen SEC team either like Georgia. Georgia will have something going up for it. Yeah, I think Joey Aguilar will be the talk if they win. If not, then he could be the talk either way on it. But, based on it, I think what we've got, it seems like a pretty solid-headed guy at quarterback. I expect to see more motion, more movement. This is one of those weeks you do what you do to win the football game. Because to me, this game could be the difference in whether you make the playoffs or not.
Yep.
And in the year when you've got the best chance you've got to beat Georgia, I cannot imagine that Heupel is not just dying to beat Georgia because they have had his number so far. Anybody want to make a prediction for this week?
I can.
All right, what you got? What's going to happen on Saturday?
First off, I'll say, I feel like going into this week, if we had Jamal McCoy and Ricky Gibson, and just possibly give me the chance of just give me one of Hobbs or Moy, I would say Tennessee wins by 10. I would confidently say that Tennessee wins by 10 if you had 3 or 4 of those guys. That's unfortunately not the case. So I do think it's going to be much closer. And I think Georgia, their offense and their coaching staff will find ways to exploit Tennessee's defense, considering the injuries that we do have. I still, of course, think Tennessee wins. How does Tennessee win? I couldn't tell you. I just think Joey and the running backs have a good enough game, and the offense actually scores points. I wanted to say 23-20. That just kind of felt too low to me. So I feel like 27-23 Tennessee will be the final score. I think field goal kicking is very important this game for both teams. And then Tennessee just manages one more touchdown than Georgia does. We find the end zone one more time, and it could be on any play. It could be a Boo Carter punt return, and then the non-existent riff on Nealon pops off. I can't imagine that scene if that happened. But overall, I just 27-23 seems like a good number to me because I don't feel like both teams are just going to score touchdowns because I feel like both teams are going to be in situations of bend, don't break defense.
Will you be storming the field if everybody else goes?
Oh, yeah.
Backwoods, you want to make a prediction?
Yeah. I think we've alluded to it the whole time. That blue chip ratio being, higher than we have seen it under Heupel. Georgia looking more beatable this year than, in years past. I want to see Tennessee be predators this year. I don't want to see them be scared. It's Florida. Yeah, or it's Georgia. Yeah, it's going to be Georgia. You've got to go out there and compete for 60 minutes. I want to see a blood in the water mentality, be a predator, attack Georgia. I think I've seen enough of Tennessee this year to think that they can play with Georgia. If you'd asked me before the Syracuse game, I would have told you I kind of doubted that they were able to beat them, possibly if things went right, if a lot of plays went their way, 50-50 balls went their way, I would have said maybe they'd had a chance to compete. But with what I've seen, I think Tennessee, if they show up, don't shoot themselves in the foot, I think they have every opportunity in the world to play with Georgia. Terry, I would show you my notes. I had it typed out before the stream started. Tennessee beating Georgia in Neyland, 28-24.
Everybody's going Tennessee over Georgia. My prediction is I'm not picking. I got to see it to believe it. That's where I'm at with it. There's been 2022. I know we were going down there. We had the momentum. We got the crap kicked out of us. Last year, I thought we had a real shot with what had happened with Kerry mentioned all the sacks Ole Miss had. And you think Georgia's line's beat up. We're going to go down there. Yeah, this is our year. Our defensive line will annihilate them and stuff. And we don't even breathe on Carson Beck the whole night. Whether they held or not, the fact of the matter was we didn't even get close to it. But I don't subscribe to the BVS, but I do subscribe to I got to see it to believe it. I'm not picking Georgia to win. I'm not picking, but we've got to show up. We're not getting a better year, a better time, a better chance to beat Georgia under Heupel than we're getting now. We may not get a better chance. I mean, Georgia's probably not even going to be on the schedule again, the next 2 years at least.
Possibly.
Since they'll be flipping the schedule on it. Of course, we don't know who the 3 permanent opponents are yet. I mean, I got to think Bama and Vandy are 2 of them. I don't see Kentucky being the 3rd one because I think there would historically says yes, but I think balance of schedule. If you give Tennessee, Vandy, and Kentucky every year, other teams are probably going to be like, "What in the hell is this? We're getting we're getting LSU, Alabama, and Georgia every year for our permanent."
We deserve it. We deserve it. We played Alabama and Georgia and Florida every single year of my life. We can get a break now. I've experienced enough.
Yeah, there's a good. I think for sure Georgia's coming off schedule the next 2 years. Be interesting to see if Florida does or not. If Florida, I think it's either Florida or South Carolina. Douglas Graham said South Carolina. I think it's one of the 2 will be the 3rd permanent. I wouldn't be surprised on South Carolina. I'd be good with that one. I've always got a bone to pick with South Carolina. So I'm not picking it Saturday. If I was picking, I'd pick Georgia to win. And I'm not gonna lie because I don't lie. That's why I'm not picking. So I'm not picking. It's because I've not seen a Tennessee team that compete with them physically. Can this one do it? I've got to see it. So, any final thoughts before we wrap this one up? I'll take that as a no. We're going to wrap up on that one. Appreciate these guys coming on tonight. Appreciate you guys. We've had a good crowd. We've been hovering around 200, a little bit more tonight. So thank you guys. It's that time. Hopefully, I'm back on here next week. We're going to be talking about. I can't hurry. I can't remember beating Georgia. I remember the Dobb now and just thinking this is crazy. Here, it shouldn't have been that close of a game that day. That was one of those I thought Tennessee should have drilled them, but they found a way to. They somehow found a way to win that football game. A win is a win this weekend. You win, I'm happy with it either way. But he's Kerry, he's Backwoods. This is Frank. This is the House of Orange. Thanks, guys, for tuning in tonight. Y'all have a good week, and we'll see you when we see you.